observations I was doing the other day on Con, and they just totally interrupted my stream, and then they blocked it because I was showing clips from Space Seed. I mean, that's fucking fair use. You fucking idiots.
I think people can hear you. I'm sorry. The audio just went through. I'm gonna start the jingle now, folks. You're getting this the raw footage here. Here we go. This episode of the MOC Squad was filmed in front of a live members-only audience. Hello, greetings everybody. You may have heard a little bit of Rob's rant earlier there when Rob was
I ranting
by the wrath of Paramount, correct?
They blocked my live stream showing clips. The thing is, I knew they were going to do that. It was kind of an experiment. I wanted to see how long each clip was and how long I could get away with. I didn't think they would block the live stream though.
Don't you have like a 10-second limit on clips when it's like opinion stuff and reviews and stuff like that? I thought there's a fair use law about that.
Maybe actually there isn't on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Any copywritten material that they don't have to let you do anything on YouTube, but there is like a federal fair use kind of a thing. But I mean, I was playing clips that were 2.5 minutes.
So, because one thing that I'm always curious is, like, you know, those two young boys, they're twins, and they do the reviews of songs.
You've got me.
How do they get away with it? Like, I know that they have a disclaimer on their description that says this is for evaluation purposes only. I'm wondering if you were to put something like that, because I mean, they do the full song.
Oh, I swear to God, they have an AI bot that goes after me specifically.
If Robert Burnett talks about Star Trek, ding ding, red
alert,
red
alert. The ship is on red alert. It's just terrible.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome. Little. Yes, people are saying in the comments a little unedited Rob here. Yeah, well, that's what this chat is all about. Is to give a chance. That's
right. This is uncut,
unfiltered Rob as part of the membership perks here. So remember, those of you out there who are watching the stream and wanna join in the actual call, become a member of the Burnettwork, and you will get access to the link every couple of weeks when we do these in the community tab of the YouTube channel. And I'm Roberto Suarez, by the way. I'm one of the lucky members of the PGS and a proud supporter. And I help out Rob here with these chats. And of course, the one and only, the incomparable Viceroy of Verisimilitude, enjoying a nice, what are you enjoying there? Just a nice cup of water, Rob?
Well, that's all I drink now.
All you're drinking now? Yeah,
I figured, because, I'm an alcoholic, so I like to drink heavily for a couple of years and then stop for a year.
And then you stop and give yourself a break.
Yeah, I'm just getting in shape. I hadn't, I feel good though, being as old as I am. Mm-hmm. I feel really good, but I just wanted to give my liver a break.
Hey, you've exercised. You've been exercising the liver well enough up until now, right? So now it's time to exercise other parts.
Yeah, and it's funny because I probably drink 10 of these a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just like to drink. Like I like drinking. I like the sensual pleasure of cold liquid or hot liquid or alcoholic liquid going. But what's really interesting about just like you can drink too much water.
Oh yeah, you can actually induce a kind of water poisoning if you drink to excess.
Yeah, but it's really hot out and we walk the dogs and I've been working out, so it's good.
Good.
I feel good. I feel like my whole system has been flushed. I can see it in you sleep better and all that.
Yeah,
and it's a lot cheaper because I only drink I like to drink when I go to the grocery store. If a bottle costs less than $15, a bottle of wine, I won't buy that.
Right.
Even the beer I buy is like $12 a sixer. It's like I'd go to the grocery store and buy a couple bottles of wine, a fifth of Jameson, and some booze, and it was $100.
Right. No, I know.
You know how many action figures that is?
We are snobs over here in Portland with all of our micro.
You're the biggest. Portland is the snobbiest beer city in the world.
Snobby. Oh my god.
And that's why I like. I think I might be coming up again to shoot more Crisis Medicine.
Hey, we can always. We'll have to get together.
Yeah, we have to go support more breweries because all the people that are moving out of Portland.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, we got a nice, healthy group of friends here joining us today. We're gonna do our ceremonial opening of the gates here. So remember, folks.
And I have a hard out at 2 today.
Hard out at 2 today. Okay.
Hard out at 2.
All
so.
Right. So I'm gonna be a menace on the clock then when it comes to giving people their fair turn here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody in. And here we go. Welcome, everyone. Always a blast to see the ranks of the PGS pour into our Zoom call here. And remember, yes, when you go into the reactions section of the Zoom window, you can select there to raise your hand so you can ask a question or share a comment. Usually about 7 minutes. You get about 7 minutes with Rob.
In heaven.
In heaven with Rob. In the heavenly
You don't even have to get in the closet.
One of these days, maybe.
By the way, where I grew up, we never played 7 minutes in heaven.
No,
we didn't have that.
I did not. I mean, I should say I was never invited. If somebody was playing it, I was never invited. So
oh man, handsome devil like you. Come on now.
Oh well. Back in those days, Rob. Back in those days, it was a different story. I had the big braces with the harness around behind the necks. And
I had headgear. I sucked my thumb till I was like 5.
Let me go ahead and I need to relocate you here on the Zoom call, Bob, so I can make you the center of attention. There we go. All right.
Not me. I want to remind everybody that tonight on the CW at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 1982, The Greatest Geek Year Ever airs. And it's also on the CW app. The app. Use the VPN. Get the app, and it'll be on the app tomorrow.
Are you you're featured in the segment that they're doing tonight? I'm
featured in all 4 nights.
Okay, awesome.
So it's airing on consecutive Saturdays. And there's some real heavy hitters on there. So it's really interesting. They've chosen to focus on the geeks themselves and the advertising. I mean, they've shown some of the people, but there's some pretty heavy hitters on the show.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to see who pops up. I don't even know everybody who pops up.
That's awesome.
So,
hey, quick question from the chat from Bill Barkley. If you have had a chance to see the new animated series, My Adventures with Superman on Max.
No, it's funny because I've been meaning to watch that, but I've been getting so many discs.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to tell you, I got a movie yesterday sent to me by Kino Lorber that a science fiction film that I had never heard of, called, I want to say it's the end of the world. And it was made by Abel Gance, who made Napoleon in the 1920s, the epic silent film Napoleon. It's France's first talking movie, with the first movie after the silent era was over. And the movie is about these scientists, get this, that discover a comet is going to hit the world. And they're like Armageddon or Deep Impact.
It's the original Armageddon.
It's like the original Armageddon. And they apparently they start a new world order or something to bring the world together. I'm like, I have never heard, I mean, I know a lot about movies.
Oh, you do?
But I've never heard of this movie. And it's a science fiction movie. I'm looking at this going, oh my God. Between that and the Vinegar Syndrome discs I've been watching of the Polish filmmaker Slotkin. I've been watching his Apocalypse tetralogy, which is fucking fascinating to watch. The movie made Gollum using the old, the Gollum myth. And then the book that was written in the 1800s. I mean, it's an incredible film. I was like, wow. And then his War of the Worlds movie too. I watched that. I watched 2 of those. So science fiction movies that I'd never heard of and never seen.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's so nice to be pleasantly surprised by that, I'm sure. Well, we are pleasantly surprised with the company of S.A. Saipan today. So let's go ahead and get things started off with him. S.A., you should be able to unmute now. Welcome to the chat.
Hi. Yes, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Winchell Chung's site. It's one of the most comprehensive science fiction science sites on the internet.
Winchell Chong?
Yeah, Chung. Yeah,
Chung.
and I was just reading, I do something similar with my links, but it's not, it's a part-time thing. His site's actually become huge. And apparently
the Sojourn Wiki?
No, it's the Atomic Rockets page. It started off as very into the whole idea of putting fission on rockets, which is a terrible idea, but it's sort of a play on that whole thing. I was reading about the site was started in the 90s, which in the internet then was described as this site. The review page described it as a series of coal-fired VT-100 terminals connected by frayed wire. But that got me even thinking, going farther back in time, when my background is it's a version of the Heart of Gold spaceship from the
Infinite Improbability Drive
2005 movie.
Come on, man.
Well,
go audio drama or go home.
Yeah, prior to the internet, there were bulletin board systems, and there are a bunch of them, and that like every other one was named after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right? Yeah.
So that
I still love. I mean, all the names and like Magrathea. I was like, what a great name, Magrathea. Douglas Adams. That audio drama is still one of the greatest audio dramas ever done, because that was the first. Everything.
I never read books or watched the BBC. I read all the books. I never watched the BBC or listened to the radio. I just got into the books, but and then the movie, which I thought was better than a lot of the free stuff. I thought the movie was actually better than a lot of what people envisioned the Hitchhiker's universe to be, at least from my perspective. Maybe you had a better vision of that universe.
It was weird because you had the audio drama, which I loved. Yeah. And then the BBC show kind of bummed me out because the production values were so low, and I didn't like the design of Marvin the Paranoid Android. I think the thing about the movie getting Alan Rickman to do the voice of Marvin, and I loved the design of Marvin. Yeah. In the movie.
Yeah.
Even though it was not the design I would have.
Solid robot design.
Yeah, with the big head, it was.
The style was good.
Yeah, and Mark Wing Davey, I mean, the head in the BBC version of Zaphod Beeblebrox was not good.
Yeah. Oh no, that was terrible. Sam Rockwell's great, but the way some of that went, it could have been a lot more interesting. I get that they were trying to be current with George Bush at the time and all of that stuff, which was clever, but still the execution, that was the one thing with the movie. The execution could have been better.
Yeah, I mean, it's the humor too is like the movie was too literal to me. Like they're presenting all this stuff, but a lot of the humor is very what would you call it? It's not literal so much as it is more conceptual. Like it's more Monty Python humor.
Yeah, in a sense, but it's also workable, clever. I mean, of any of the theoretical science fiction faster than light drives, actually the probability drive.
Oh, right.
If you look at the math, it makes the most sense because that's really the only way you can get something to do that.
Yeah. It's funny, now you make me want to go back and revisit all this stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about, is actually that drive makes the most sense of anything. And there are a few other things in there where the science and the math make as sort of a clever joke, make a lot more sense than any other science fiction literature or book.
Oh, well, one of my favorite things in all of science fiction literature is the total perspective vortex. And one of my favorite things in any movie or any audio drama or any story was so for those of you who've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a thing called the total perspective vortex. and it's a torture device. I think the Vogons use it, and what they do is they take you and they stick you in the total perspective vortex, and you see yourself in relation to the rest of the universe. And it's supposed to drive you mad because it shows you how utterly insignificant you, your life, your planet, anything your species has ever tried to attempt, it all is meaningless in the grand scheme of the universe. And so they stick Zaphod Beeblebrox into the total perspective vortex, and he comes out of it smiling. He's like, yeah, how's it going? You know? And his torturers are like, you've been into the vortex? And he's like, yeah. And you've seen yourself in relation to the rest of the universe? And Zaphod's like, yeah. Well, what did you discover? And he's like, that I'm a really great guy. I don't know why I think that's so funny. Then he says, didn't I tell you I am Zaphod Beeblebrox, the president of the universe?
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
I should be there. It's funny to me.
Yeah. Have to be there. So yeah, I started watching Guardians 3 and didn't really get that into it. I agree that I think the magic of the superhero time, the fatigue has set in for sure.
Did you see the whole thing?
No, I didn't see that. I still have to finish it.
I have to tell you, it will creep up on you.
Okay.
As that movie goes along, I felt the same way. You're watching the beginning, it's like 20 minutes in, and then this thing starts to happen. And by the end, I was like a blubbering mess.
Yeah. I thought Secret Invasion was solid. A lot more. At least it understood what it was.
Look, you know what? I read those scripts. I think aside from dumbing down the dialogue a bit, it's the Secret Invasion I read, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's exactly what it was supposed to be. The way it was conceived, the way it's been executed, it's exactly. And stay tuned.
Oh yeah, it could get better, but at least you know it's smoothed out. It's not so. Maybe it will help fandom.
I think
it needs a self-acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with it is I think it's a little the direction is a little flat.
Oh yeah.
You know, I keep going. I go back to if you're going to do Secret Invasion or anything like that, you have to look. So there's a British director named Euros Lyn, and he directed Torchwood Children of Earth. And to me, if you're going to do Torchwood Children of Earth is the greatest 5 hours of science fiction TV of the last 20 years, I think. I mean, there's been other things that might have higher highs, but as a piece, I only knew Captain Jack from Doctor Who. I'd never watched Torchwood. I'd never seen the first 2 seasons. And somebody kept telling I don't even remember who it was, that Torchwood Children of Earth was, and I'm like, how good can it be? And I've told the story a million times, but I bought the Blu-ray and I got home. I was working on the Star Trek Blu-rays, the documentaries, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I put in the first hour of Torchwood Children of Earth, and I'm like, holy shit. And I ended up watching all 5 hours and staying up till 6 in the morning. And I had to be at work like in 3 hours. It was that good. And it was that well directed. Of course, maybe I'd feel differently if I watched it now, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I watched it 3 times and it's so good.
Thanks, SA. We've got Mattuine coming up next. Mattuine, you hold on. Why can't I unmute you? Let me hold on. You should be able to unmute now, Mattuine. Go ahead and give it a shot. There we go.
Hey, Rob.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
It is going well. Aside from getting, live streams blocked by Paramount.
Mattuine, your audio is a little bit low. I don't know if your microphone
poking
is
the
set
bear.
up correctly, so you might want to just check on your audio there because it's coming through echoey and kind of low.
How about now? You
Oh,
better
there-
now.
There
Yeah,
you
you
go.
sound great.
There you go.
Great. Got it. Yeah, I was started to watch that stream and got the error. So I was a little disappointed. I mean, I was
Fuckers.
ready for a rant.
Don't worry, I'm repurposing it. I'm turning it into another Star Trek video.
Okay. Good
So
deal.
which is good because I've missed a few points. So, but it's unfortunate, I guess. You know what I tried some experiments. I tried voicing the clip and doing all the characters' voices myself, and they still blocked it.
Still did it, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
keep
Oh, well.
experimenting, pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's
that
getting
episode, the only good thing I can say about it is Spock wasn't completely a moron in the episode. He actually had a couple of good, useful ideas.
you mean this new episode?
Yeah.
Except that Ortegas is yelling at him.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how much I hate this show. I hate this show different. I hate it differently than I hate Discovery. And I understand that you know what it is to me, like Star Trek 09, it's indicative of the United States as a whole. That's what I see. That's what I see modern Star Trek as. It's a commentary on our civilization as a whole. That's Star Trek is metaphoric to me. I mean, to talk about it, but the Star Trek that we're getting and the fact that people like it is where we are as a society, that our standards have fallen. And the thing is, it just shows me that we're in for a world of hurt in the next 20 years.
That leads into my question we always talk about how the writers are not connecting with the fans. The writers are not doing this. The writers aren't doing that. And I follow a writer on Instagram who I've seen him more than once not take the blame, but puts the blame more on the studios. And I want to get your opinion on how much blame should the writers his point of view was the writers often are giving good scripts, good, perhaps strict, good lore stories that stick to canon and lore, but the producers and the studios are pushing back. So how much weight how do you weight that? Like, is it really the writers as much as it is the studios, or is it just a combination?
Oh, I think it's absolutely a combination. The writer's absolutely correct, because what's really interesting, and this is really frustrating, this is more true of TV than it is or streaming than it is for movies. But yeah, network executives weigh in and give notes all the time. And you would think, I know that they're executive, but how do they have any ability to do that? See, the problem is the anybody who's involved with making movies or television in any way, shape, or form, the people that spend their lives thinking about how to write scripts, thinking about how to make movies, directing, writing, whatever, editing, they are beholden to people that know less about the product that they're making than the people that are making the product themselves. And the true power in the industry is to not have to listen to those people, because you're weighing it. Imagine if you were a brain surgeon and you would have to listen to what hospital administrators were telling you about cutting into someone's brain, even though they'd never done it and they'd never gone to medical school. And that's kind of what it's like. And the problem is everybody wants to get their creative yayas out so they get to weigh in on these things, even though now sometimes you get an executive or somebody that's great. Like the current president of 20th Century Fox, or 20th Century Studios now, Steve Asbell, is the man knows story. I mean, he came up through the story ranks at 20th Century Fox, promoted to becoming the president of the studio. It's too bad that he doesn't have more autonomy to do more stuff under the Disney, now that Disney owns Fox, because he's probably, in terms of story, the smartest executive, and he's the studio president of anyone I've ever met in the business. Now, I've heard from other friends of mine that are writers. They know executives that I don't know, that are also supposed to be quite knowledgeable when it comes to story. But especially when it comes to Star Trek, I do not understand why there isn't a Star Trek executive at Paramount, at CBS, overseeing the franchise, because you have 5 different shows. You had Picard, you had Lower Decks, you have Discovery, you have Strange New Worlds, and you have Prodigy. Mm-hmm. And I think that the cancellation of Prodigy is it's really unfortunate, because of all the shows that I think Kurtzman has produced, it was probably the best in terms of its writing. The problem was it just wasn't that. It was more Guardians of the Galaxy than it was Star Trek, but they were changing it it was morphing into Star Trek. But the problem is, I don't think Star Trek's problem is that it's old as a franchise, and that everybody's trying to turn it into something else. They want it to, because they want the success. The problem is Star Trek is never, they want the success of Star Wars or Guardians or whatever. Star Trek will never get you that success, ever. It never will. And they're constantly they're chasing after a success that they're never going to achieve. And so Star Trek will always be, certainly the the 3 J.J. Abrams movies, none of them made money, despite what anybody says. They didn't make money. They were disappointments to the studio. Why? Because they spent too much money on them. Just like they spent too much money on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. A Star Trek movie, if you look in the Berman era and you look at the classic era of Star Trek movies, I mean, everyone looks at Star Trek the Motion Picture. The reason Star Trek the Motion Picture cost as much as it did was they rolled in half a decade's worth of development costs into the budget of Star Trek the Motion Picture that they had to recoup for the Star Trek Phase 2 TV series, the Planet of the Titans movie that didn't happen. All that development cost was rolled into the budget of Star Trek the Motion Picture. And it was very expensive as well. So $44 million back in 1979 was a huge amount of money. But Star Trek movies should not cost, you cannot spend $200 million on a Star Trek movie. I would spend, and if you have to spend that much money, you have no business making movies, because you should be able to make a Star Trek movie for $100 million. Oppenheimer, $100 million movie.
Look at the creator with my last few seconds here. I'm looking forward to seeing the creator. See, the budget's $86 million. Gareth
Can't wait.
Edwards
Look at
does
that.
Pretty good job too.
That movie, all because you have Gareth Edwards. No, it came out of visual effects when he made his first movie, Monster.
He knows how to tell without putting it all.
He also knows how to do effects work. I mean, the thing about effects now is and when you're making a big budget movie, you just get everything that you want. So there's a lot of waste. Whereas, like, with the thing about Star Trek is, you only need, like, if you're going to show the Enterprise going through space, you don't need these long shots of the capital ship moving like an X-wing fighter through all kinds of shit in space. All you need is a shot, a pass by. That's all you need. You know, Star Trek is just as compelling in rooms with people talking as it is if you're on these alien planets and, you know, whatever. But you have to understand how to make movies in order to do that. And, you know, don't build sets that have green screen additions everywhere where you force so many more effect shots. You know, if you this is what I understand. Someone's making a movie today and they've got 2,000 effect shots. Cut it in half. Figure out how to do it with 1,000 effect shots, and figure out how to make genre movies the way they used to in the 80s. I mean, look at Cameron. Terminator cost $4 million. Terminator 2 cost $100 million. Don't do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt Tuween. I actually heard somebody, Rob, talking about the Dial of Destiny budget, saying, wouldn't it have been interesting if they had decided to stick to the technology of the original Raiders, so that those actually put themselves those actual creative constraints in doing the movie, because it sure doesn't look like they spent $300 million in that movie.
Well, and because they have so much, like, you know what's really interesting? In Temple of Doom, when they first fall out of the airplane in the inflating raft, you can tell that raft is like, I mean, what they threw it off, they probably had the camera pointed at the sky. When the raft is first falling, you can see that it's a real raft, inflating.
Right.
And of course, there's then ILM trickery in the plane. There's a matte painting and the plane crashes and it's a miniature and all that. But I mean, that's not a bad idea. Nothing in Dial of Destiny looked real to me. All of it. Either they were using volume backgrounds. I mean, they would have certain shots, but like the ticker tape parade in New York. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
All the ticker tape falling. I'm like, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
It just didn't look, none of it looked real. And I think that's part of the problem is no one knows how to make it. And of course, it would be the adjusted budget for Raiders today. If they made Raiders today, is $60 million. 60 million, and adjusted for inflation, it would have made over $1 billion.
Yeah. No, I know. And the prices are completely out of control. Speaking of prices, though, we do have some super chat donations and some questions. Let me just go ahead and run those by quickly. Bill Barkley wants to know if you have seen the set tour of Beetlejuice 2, where the house is built on the exact same spot as the original.
No. No, I'll have to go watch that. That's amazing.
We've got Science Lady saying, with a $10 or 10 pound super chat. Thank you, Science Lady. I am drinking Guinness at the moment. Looking forward to seeing Oppenheimer, but we will probably all need a glass of Jameson's. Cillian Murphy could win the Oscar this year from what people are saying.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him talking on an interview show with Robert Downey Jr. And I mean, it looks incredible. And I read yesterday that there's not one CG shot in Oppenheimer, not one.
That's what somebody just mentioned in the comments too. Yeah. And Science Lady follows that up with another 2 pounds saying, recommend Ordinary Men by Christopher Browning. I don't know if that's a book or a movie that you're suggesting, but thank you, Science Lady, for the suggestion. All right, so let's move ahead with the Cookie Master General himself. Ish, you should be able to unmute now. Go ahead and give it a shot. There we go. Welcome, Ish.
Hello, guys. How you doing today?
How's it going, man?
Good to have you.
All right. Hey, Rob, just wanted to applaud you on your shirt skills.
Oh. This was given to me by a viewer.
Yeah, that guy has great taste.
I wonder who that was.
I don't know, but I noticed looking at your shirt, and I'm a little upset. I didn't get the little side badge on your arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mine's blank. I'm a little upset.
Oh, well, forgive me.
I should have switched shirts.
I love this shirt. You know what's really funny? I like all my genre geeky shirts.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I always find where we moved, I have this big closet, like a second walk-in closet, but that's in the back. I mean, I'm relegated to the back. So it's a weird, I think that there used to be when the house was first made, like it was like the front door to the house, and then they added to it. And so there's this walk-in closet with a door that looks like a front door to a house. And Elizabeth took that closet. You open up the front door, and then there's my closet, which has no light in it. So I get these shirts and I wash them. And if they're black, the shirts are black, I forget they're washed and folded. And I'll look up and go, oh my God, there's a stack of new shirts up there that I wash, and because they're black, I didn't know they were there. And that's this was at the top of that pile. I'm like, yeah, freshly laundered. I probably washed it 6 months ago or something. I didn't know it was there.
Yeah. I don't put mine in the dryer.
I know I shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But
It kills black shirts.
it's true.
Yeah, and I see that you said you're getting into shape.
Yes.
Me too. I've been getting into shape too. Unfortunately, mine is round. But what can you do?
Well, you know what? 10,000 steps a day, man.
Yeah, but I like my arm workouts better.
Well, arm workouts are good, and swimming too.
Yeah.
Swimming's good. No, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I was never one of those guys that worried about like diet or weight but you get older and I want to live. I would not want to be infirm in my old age.
Yeah. Rob, I was thinking Marvel. Where I think Marvel went wrong is they did the Infinity Saga too early. Because where do you go after that? Like Secret Wars, they need too many superheroes and too many villains, and they don't have it.
No, and that's I think
so. I don't see. So there's no way really to make this stuff.
And Kang Dynasty too.
Yeah,
I reread Kang Dynasty, and that's an epic story, but it has everybody. When you had the X-Men, I mean, the X-Men gave you a whole pantheon of characters. I mean, I don't know. And plus, to be honest, I don't care about Secret Wars. I mean, it was a gimmick in the first place. It was a gimmick when they did it in the 2015 or something, and when they did the new one, and I'm like, who care? I don't care.
Yeah, like, the thing to me is, you're never going to see the Hulk holding up that mountain either. Because it's smart Hulk, so there's no way he's holding that mountain.
Well, that was from the Secret Wars in the 80s.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do it. I hope they do that one.
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna do the other one. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't. What I find so strange. I think that where Marvel has gone wrong is their stories are no longer about the characters themselves. Like Quantumania, Scott Lang was a guest in his own movie. And it was like the what made those movies so good was they were really about him. You know, you could take the superheroics out of it and a guy coming out of prison wanting to be a good father. You know, I mean, that's a great story, and it doesn't have to be superheroic, but it worked. And then, you know, Michael Pena and all that crew not being in Quantum Mania, it's like, why are you taking out the grounded, fun, personal stuff that made the Ant-Man movies fun in the first place?
Yeah,
And
Michael Pena not being in the movie, that was really he's really one of the reasons why I watched Ant-Man.
yeah, I mean, I just didn't care. And the quantum realm, I don't care about it. Like, it's just like I don't care about the Time Variance Authority and Loki and all that. It's too far. You've pushed the Marvel universe too far.
What I didn't get about the quantum realm is when he first went in there in the first Ant-Man movie, right? He just shrank himself more and he was in there. And then he made himself grow and he got out.
Right.
So why now in Quantum Mania does that feature not work? Like he can't do that again. And he shrunk himself even more while he was in the quantum realm. I didn't get that. I was like, wait, come on. Wait a minute.
Well, and then you look at, like, one of the things I've liked about Secret Invasion is the whole idea behind a group of Skrulls that want a world of their own. Like, they don't want to hide. They don't want to have to shapeshift. They don't have to take human form. They want a world of their own. And I get that. That motivation is really interesting. And having a revolutionary figure that wants to destroy the world or because they can nuke it and they can live through the radiation. I get it. I understand that. You know, and and looking at like Secret Invasion and putting it in the same world as Quantum Mania seems odd. You know, they've pushed. I thought this about with the Time Variance Authority and Loki. They broke the universe. They broke a universe that we could all accept, but then they went too far. Bringing in like the Time Variance Authority, then it's a Terry Gilliam Brazil wacky, you know, the Miss Clock or whatever. You know, what is the Miss? I want to say Miss. I say Miss Manners all the time, but it was too far. They pushed the Marvel universe too far and they broke it. And then they did the same thing with Thor: Love and Thunder. Ragnarok skirted the edge of breaking the universe, but it didn't, because you pulled back, you destroyed Asgard, you gave it some real weight and stakes. But Thor: Love and Thunder took everything was a goof. So who cared? And I think the one thing about the Infinity Saga is the way they built up to it. Thanos had a philosophy. He had a reason for doing what he was doing, and it made sense. You know, it was like, it might have been misguided and stupid, but
I don't know about made sense, because it didn't really make sense to me because I thought about it. And it's like, you kill half the population, right? That means you're killing half the cows, half the chickens. So you're taking half the food source. Aren't you in the same situation?
well, they never. Yeah, I guess. Did they kill half? Did he kill half the
Yes,
resources?
all living beings. So that means all half the cows disappeared, half the food. You know what I mean? So half the food source disappeared too. So it's not
but then the half the food source
more.
would be able to replenish itself quicker because you didn't have as much demand for it. I guess
We're gonna have to leave it at that, and at least, and maybe the resources consumed by the cows and all that would have been more abundant. So, right, so you would have had less animals to feed and more of that food to go around. But who knows? Thank you, Ish, for making us debate these philosophical questions. So I appreciate you.
these are important philosophical
These
questions.
important philosophical questions. That's right. And now, a couple of on the super chats, by the way, Science Lady came back saying that Ordinary Men, the book, what she was recommending, is a book by Christopher Browning, a disturbing story, most disturbing story I've read about World War II and how normal men end up doing terrible crimes to the Jewish population in Poland. So that's her recommendation, Science Lady's book there. And thanks for the £5 super chat. All right. So our man in Tel Aviv is up next. Alon Abdi, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Shalom.
Shalom. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Right. So I saw that you're getting saved. That's great. I actually did a couple of renditions to keep you motivated. Let's see if I can put it.
You have to send them to me.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my, that's hilarious. Yeah, you got to send those to me, man. Yeah. That's my con. That's con. You got to put the Starfleet emblem there. That's hilarious. Oh, I'll take those. Send those to me, man.
Just keeping you motivated, you know.
Yeah.
I
Let
can
me
send
make
them-
that full. Go ahead and put it up again, Alan, because I'm making it full
All right.
frame for the stream. Go ahead and
right.
there we go.
Which one do you want? This one or that one?
Oh, that's even better. With the,
I could never look like that.
You
The other
already
one's attainable.
That's awesome.
do. Even though you stopped drinking, so this one might not be.
Well, I'll go back to drinking. I'll go. You know, it's. I'll go back to it. You know, it's. I got to lose 50 pounds and then just keep
Let me
that
know
off.
when you do. We'll do a toast.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did it like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. It was. But what was really interesting is it's amazing how eating right, not drinking alcohol, and working out, you get in shape. Go figure.
Yeah. Go figure. I mean, I'm realizing that the same thing. I'm in the best shape of my life. Never been like in better shape. And all I had to do is like quit on drinking Coke, and basically like quit anything else, which is fun. And go to the gym, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that hard, actually.
No,
Yeah.
especially if you get into, you know, if it just becomes routine. I mean, also regimenting your day out. I've got I'm involved in so many different projects. I'm like the big problem I have now is trying to put observations, everything on a regular schedule.
I know.
Trying to figure out, okay, I can't do all these things. Like I've been doing a recut of Free Enterprise. I've been working on this movie, The White Devils. There's a couple of other film projects I'm working on and trying to stream and do all this other stuff and start the panel show. I was going to start the panel show on the 24th of July. And then we got a message from Southern California Edison, our power company, saying that the power is going to be off from 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night on the 24th. And I'm like, oh, great. I can't even start the panel show the day that I want to start it. So, but that's, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
like, either one day.
We'll start the 25th.
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really have much to talk about. I wanted to say I've been slowly falling out of love with like everything Disney. I've been quitting almost every subscription I had, like Netflix and stuff. I found it like no longer really necessary.
You got to watch the Wham documentary, man. It's good. I watched the Wham documentary.
Well, I might try it like maybe when I'm at my Fox home or something like that.
Yeah, it was good. It was quick, and I'm a George Michael fan, and it was, you know, Wham was when I was in junior high and high school, and it was interesting. It was actually it's a great documentary. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's actually pretty uplifting.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I'm really falling in love with like the 80s. Ever since that Footloose screening I went to.
You'd never seen it, right?
I'd never seen it till that.
So tell everybody about this Footloose screening, because you sent me some pictures. I put them up on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, basically, Tel Aviv each and every year they do like this white night where everything's open until like 5 a.m. something like that. And there's like a bunch of activities and shows and stuff like that, and stuff to do. And one of those things was a free public screening of Footloose, and it was amazing. Like, I think 20 minutes before they screened the movie, they started with the song. There was a bunch of dancing, and they put a lot of bean bags for like for everybody to sit on. It was really incredible. I wasn't there in the 80s to like experience that movie,
Right.
But I did like this past week.
You know what's really interesting? When you leave the United States, like we look at Footloose now as kind of like I was always surprised, like in the UK, that music pop music was liked by everybody. It wasn't just like people that were teenagers from like 12 to 22 who listened to pop music. It was everyone. Everybody listened to it. And they didn't judge. You weren't judged if you liked Wham. I mean, the British press destroyed Wham, you know, and but Elton John was a guy who came out and said, listen, George Michael is a great pop songwriter. So Elton John was one of the people that actually pushed back against the British press and said, look, you guys with your snooty music writing, I get it, but you don't understand. And then when they were at Live Aid, you know, Elton John was playing the piano while George Michael sang "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and it was really interesting. But the same thing is true. Like when you guys watch Footloose in America, we kind of laugh at it, but you guys don't.
No idea why. I agree with Star Wars. It's one of the best films of all time.
Well, not only is it a great, fun film, but it has, I mean, the idea, people forget that you had this town that had great tragedy, and the religious leaders of the town said, we're not going to ever put our kids in harm's way anymore, so you can't dance. You know,
just the music by itself, it gives you like great vibes. I've been listening to that song nonstop for the last couple of days. Like this entire era of like Grease and Dirty Dancing and like and Footloose and like all of the vibes from that era. Such a great time. I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah, I mean, well, because it was fun. You know, it
still is, and that's what's lacking from today's films, I think.
Yeah, it was not cynical. You know, it was now there's this cynicism and there's this, everybody's so like disaffected, and there's always been that cynicism, but nowadays it's a little different, and it's frustrating that people can't go back and watch a movie like Footloose and enjoy it unironically. Because I'm a fan. And by the way, the remake of Footloose is not bad either. I don't think it has the charm of the first one, but yeah.
Thank you, Arlon. Great to see you. We've got Anthony Plowden coming up next. Anthony, you should be able to join us now. Welcome.
Hey, hello. What's up, Rob?
What's going on, man? Still no Psycho Cop 2 for me.
Hopefully it's coming soon.
I'm telling you, it is. It's going to be coming soon.
I love these get-togethers because I already come in with what I want to talk about, but then like the last question about music, and I love music, especially 80s music. This is a question I wanted to ask you like 2 weeks ago, but it was just so random. I didn't want to be too random, but I wanted to kind of segue just real quick on this and then ask you one other question. I thought it was fascinating how with Tina Turner passing away like over the last 2 months, the fact that she was in her late 40s, early 50s, and so was Aretha Franklin in the 1980s. Don't you think that that's fascinating that both of them, like what's your opinions on both of them being at the height of their careers so late in their careers? Like nowadays, you would never see an artist in their late 40s or early 50s have that much success on the charts like Aretha and Tina Turner did. Like what dynamic do you feel like, was it just the 80s or what was it?
That's a good question. I mean, you know, Tina Turner was such a powerhouse. Like she was the acid queen, you know, in the 70s. And so she, I mean, and working with Ike and all that, she was already totally cool. But I think what was really interesting about the 80s was that there was such a diversity in terms of music. Like you could be into hair metal, Brit pop, synth, dark wave, goth. I was a fanatical Prince fan, and Prince spanned a lot of genres. That there was that people's taste in music was very broad based, you know. So and when and like Aretha Franklin, she did a duet with George Michael.
Yeah,
you know, I knew you were waiting for me, and I think that what was really interesting, that music of the 80s was a celebration of, I mean, Run DMC teaming up with Aerosmith. You know, Aerosmith is on the wane, and I think people just dug music, and there wasn't it was, I mean, I know for me, when I would go to I spent a lot of time going to the record store in the 80s because also music was tied up with, to me, it was all this, it was music, movies, books, fashion, all of it kind of worked together cohesively. And, you know, I wasn't necessarily, this isn't fair to say, but when I think about the elder statesmen of the 80s, I think that I was buying records. Phil Collins and Tina Turner I bought a lot of stuff because, like, when Tina Turner came out with like Private Dancer, you know, I think videos helped as well, because Tina Turner looked badass in her videos with her big hair and, you know, her legs, because she was a beautiful woman. And then she also did things like she was anti-entity in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome in '85. So she was riding the crest of her music, and then being in that movie also just upped her cool quotient, you know. And I think, and same thing was true of Aretha Franklin, because she had respect already, so to speak, but she also then reinvented herself because she was a great singer, you know. And I think that also there was a great tradition of Black artists that we saw come to fruition in the 60s, Black pop artists like Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin, who also carried through, and they were able to bring obviously both of them were incredible vocalists. So, you know, there was a place for them. And no one, like, I never looked at Tina Turner and thought to myself, she's older, I'm not going to listen to her. She was cool, and her videos were cool. You know, I love the song she did, not just Beyond Thunderdome, but One of the Living, which I think is the better song off Beyond Thunderdome. If you look at that music video, she's like walking around a post-apocalyptic wasteland or in the underground with this guitar. I mean, they were as cool. Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin were as cool in the 80s as they ever were. You know, some bands went the wrong way, like Jefferson Airplane became Jefferson Starship. I wasn't such a fan of We Built This City on rock and roll, but I think that the 80s were very much open to that, you know. And it was really interesting because even like the rise of hip hop, like, I still think, going back, I'm a huge LL Cool J fan, and when you I mean, I love his early work, earlier stuff. And I mean, everyone likes Mama Said Knock You Out, which to me was fine, but it was a little bit more I like stuff like I Need Love, you know. But I still think that Going Back to Cali is not only one of my favorite, I guess, would you call it a rap song? I guess you would, hip hop, but it's also one of the coolest songs I think of. Was that 87?
And Less Than Zero was one of my favorite movies in the 1980s too.
That movie's so cool, and it's again a great soundtrack. You know, with the Bangles redoing Hazy Shade of Winter, and you know, it's funny. Yesterday I saw they're making this is totally unrelated, but they're making Super 7 is making Eric B. and Rakim a paid in full action figure 2-pack.
Wow.
3 3/4 figures, and I'm like, oh, I'm buying that. I mean, I wish they were 6 scale, but I'll take it, because I need some rappers for my 6 scale shelf. And Eric B. and Rakim were I mean, Rakim, I think he's one of the greatest rappers, greatest wordsmiths who ever, and his vocal stylings, his lyrical flow, man, I fucking love those guys. But it wasn't, I mean, the 80s was a great time for music because there was such diversity in terms of what everybody was listening to. And I thought, and you had MTV. And nobody cared. Like, you looked at Tina Turner, no one looked like her, no one sounded like her. You know, and even like Phil Collins, a bald British dude doing Sussudio, you know, that was cool too. Who would have thought that, you know, the guy who replaces Peter Gabriel in Genesis would go on to more success with Genesis and then as a solo artist. I mean, in the 80s, anybody could make music and find, I mean, not anybody, you had to be really talented, but there was a lot of different kinds of people getting together and doing cool stuff. I wish we had that now. I mean, there's a lot of people making music, but music as a cultural force, I mean, unless you're Taylor Swift, but for me, Taylor Swift's music doesn't resonate as much as Taylor Swift herself does, even though, you know, I'm not a girl, so it doesn't resonate with me as much, but I miss that. I miss what we had in the 80s in terms of how music influenced our pop culture.
Thanks, Anthony. By the way, one of my favorite Tina Turner duets was with Bryan Adams when they did It's Only Love. And I think that too had a lot of crossover appeal with her.
Yeah, no, it totally did.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because it was interesting to watch Tina Turner on her own. She was beyond her music. She was also just cool.
Yeah.
Like you'd see her interviewed, you'd see her appear on MTV. So these people were not just making great music, but having videos behind them. There was all of that imagery that you saw, and MTV would play Private Dancer along with right next to Thriller, right next to Bryan Adams, right now. It was all this. It was all. I mean, youth culture had something that was defining in MTV, showing you these people.
Right.
So it wasn't just a song on a radio.
Right.
I wish we had that now, but it's totally different. Music has become.
Yeah.
Because another thing is that what's really weird is again, the thing with youth are TikTokers and Instagram influencers and YouTubers or whatever, and they're looking, and not that we're all a bunch of untalented douchebags, but they don't have pop musicians the way they had when 40 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Culture is just different.
All right. Marcus Bisman is here. Marcus, welcome. You're welcome to join. Good to have you here.
Hey, Rob.
How's it going, man? How's your
Oh,
part of the world that is
oh,
not India?
no, no, Indonesia. This is gonna be a therapy session about the Dial of Destiny.
Oh, no worries.
I hate the movie. This is my biggest problem with it. Indie is a sad and dour and depressed, and it's such a downer to me. I mean, the first scenes, when not the first 20 minutes, but after that, he wakes up in his apartment with no clothes, end up with that lousy apartment with no clothes, drinking. I mean, why would I want to see Indian states like that? I don't understand with Disney. What are they thinking?
Well, I think I feel the same way about, I like the movie a lot more than some people did, but what I don't understand is, why is there this desire? Why would Indiana Jones allow himself to be in that situation? Because I understand that we as normal people find ourselves in these situations, but why do our larger than life? It was like when Picard season 1 rolled around. I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking at Picard in his chateau writing books and all depressed. I don't believe that Indiana Jones would allow himself to get put into that position.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it. And I don't believe if I had made that movie after everything that he's seen, I've been saying this all last week, is that Indiana Jones should have been somebody he's seen supernatural, the evidence of the supernatural, of the power. He should be some crazy cracked out, or he should have been friends with Timothy Leary doing drug experiments, knowing that all this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Like he closed his eyes, but he knows that the power of God came out of the ark and vanquished. It was really strange that they kind of made him seem like, well, I've seen things I can't explain. Of course you can explain them. You know what was in the ark. You tell the government agents, power of God, I don't know. Yes, that's just what the Hebrews thought. Well, the Hebrews are right. So Indiana Jones would have known that, and he would have seen this his entire career. So to turn him into this kind of sad sack old guy, that, like you just said, that's not fun.
No, it's not.
And
The movie lack excitement, in my opinion. Indy's I don't think he was want to be in a movie. The character, not Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is okay, but the character doesn't seem to want to be involved. And at the end, spoiler alert, sorry, he gave up. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, yeah.
It's similar to James Bond ending, the last James Bond movie ending.
Hated it.
Kind of similar.
I mean, no time. The guy came in a submersible, and he's standing. Oh, I have to resign myself to my fate. Hey, buddy, you came in a submarine. Why don't you go down, get your submarine, and get the hell out of there? Well, I'm genetically engineered now. I'm going to cause the death of the woman I love. So what? You have a world to keep saving. I mean, it's like big deal. She didn't tell you the truth anyway. Who cares? You have a daughter. Call her when she's in college. I mean, it's just a Zoom call her. I mean, it's like it doesn't. I hate all this. And to me, it's lazy. When you see all these same tropes, James Bond, Indiana Jones, I think we have a deconstruction because our people are in real life. They can't conceive of heroes anymore.
But the thing is, this movie is escapism, bro. I mean, I
know.
don't want to see reality like Indy's knocking on his neighbors. What the fuck? He's living with all those hippies. I mean, the next door.
Well, and that's the thing is, we now have a whole cadre of people writing stories that don't know what real escapism is. It's now everyone has to like, oh, it's a cheat. Oh, we're gonna have to make our character beaten down and demoralized because that's the easy thing to do. They can't conceive of anything else. Let's deconstruct. I mean, look, there's 5 Daniel Craig movies, Bond movies. One of them I like because he's having fun being Bond. James Bond should be having fun being Bond. He knows each day could be his last, so that's why he knows what the best temperature to drink Bollinger or foie gras or he knows he loves all the sensual pleasures of life because they can be taken away from him. And the idea that he's going to become some morose dude. When I watch Skyfall and he gets shot off a train and then he's like all depressed and playing drinking games with scorpions in a bar, I'm like, fuck this movie. I hate that movie. Skyfall can suck a dick. I hate that film. James Bond, by the way, that's no disparagement against sucking dicks. I'm just saying that movie, why would you make a movie where James Bond repeatedly fails and then the one last thing he has to do is save M's life? Oh, doesn't do that either. What is that?
Yeah.
It's bad. It's stupid.
Why do you think the movie flopped so hard? Is it because it's too expensive? But I think it still flopped really hard.
No. You know why? Because it wasn't fun. Like at the end of the day, it's not. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of look, when you watch the trailers for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
Oh yeah.
If you'd never heard the reviews, you can watch that movie and go, yeah, everyone's having fun in that movie. Everyone's looking glamorous. The action looks great. The villains look great. Tom Cruise can still run really fast at 60. There's no gruff complaining. I mean, it looks fun. Like Top Gun Maverick looks. I remember seeing the trailer for Top Gun Maverick, and you could just tell you're going to have a fun time at the movies. But like you said, it's escapism. If you can't tell, I mean, take the YouTube quotient out of it. But this idea of deconstructing Indiana Jones, why? Like, why would you want to do that? What you should have figured out is, okay, if Indiana Jones is still Indiana Jones, and canonically in the movie he's supposed to be 70. Okay, if he's 70 years old, what would it be like to be Indiana Jones at 70? The first inclination is, oh, he's a beaten down, burnt out. First of all, take that out of the equation. I would have said, no. Indiana Jones doesn't become burnt out, and because his job as an archaeologist would not change. There's always more to discover. There's always more to learn. There's always more. I mean, the fact is, in the last movie, he met aliens, and now we're landing on the moon. He would have had a real interest in the space program. Why? He wouldn't see being eclipsed by astronauts. He would have said, I know things about the universe you people don't know. Like, if anything, I would have had Indiana Jones be in on, he knew all about the Roswell crash. They because of aliens, he was brought into the fold, and he would be given a lot more knowledge than maybe he was even supposed to know. I'm surprised they didn't do something like, somebody said that they should have gone the Lovecraftian route and made it like Indiana Jones in the Mountains of Madness and gone that way, which would have been fucking badass. Kind of like what Jonathan Mayberry did with his Joe Ledger books. But it doesn't make, I don't know, bum me out. I didn't hate the movie as much as a lot of people did, I didn't dislike it, but I thought it was wrong-headed in its conception. Which I thought about Picard season 1, and I thought about James Bond, and you know, at the end of the day, you're left with these. Why are you doing this? Like, why are you leaving the audience not with a big smile on their face? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm like you, Rob. I liked it more than most people. I think a lot of it played into the fact that you and I both kind of grew up with Indiana Jones, so I think there's the nostalgia play kind of worked on me. But I agree that there was the potential for something a little bit more creative than just tapping back into the same well. I mean, when you think about it, they treated Indiana Jones almost the same as they treated Han Solo in the rebooted Star Wars movies. Right? It's like wow, what an interesting thing that they were able to sell to Lucasfilm. Let's do the exact same thing with Han Solo, but with Indiana Jones. You know, it's just kind of strange that they went that same direction.
Well, I mean, it's look at. I mean, I don't want to sit there and like harp on Kathleen Kennedy, but why is it that they've taken all Star Wars, Willow, Indiana Jones? There's
all
one
the
more.
Same approach. Luke Skywalker. I mean, all of them the same approach. Right?
I mean, why wouldn't the thing is all of these characters are beloved badasses, and why not? I honestly think that there's something missing from the modern age with a lot of people that are dealing with these kinds of characters. Tom Cruise gets it.
Yes.
Like Tom Cruise, the way who would have thought that we're going to get Mission Impossible 7? You know, I just watched the first Mission Impossible because I'm stupid and I am not beyond the hype, and they just started putting out these steel books, these Mission Impossible. Now I already have Mission Impossible movies in 4K, but I'm like, ooh, these are tasty steel books. So I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll get those. And I yesterday I watched or the day before I watched Mission Impossible 1 again. I hadn't seen Mission Impossible 1 in a long time. And I'd forgot it's kind of a very different movie. And I'd watched an interview, interview with Tom Cruise popped up. And he was talking about how he used to live down the street from Steven Spielberg. And he was over at Steven Spielberg's house for dinner. And Brian De Palma was there. And Tom Cruise was thinking about rebooting Mission Impossible. And then he went and watched all of Brian De Palma's movies after meeting him at Spielberg's house. And he talks about everything that, you know, he probably watched The Untouchables or whatever. And he probably didn't delve into everything else. But he did. He talked about it. And I watched these movies and I'm like, I thought he would be the perfect guy. And the first Mission Impossible is quite different than but it was really good. I'd forgotten how good it was and how well constructed it is. And even though the helicopter train chase in the tunnel, you know, it's obviously special effects, it still works.
Yeah.
You know, you still watch it and it's still.
Well, it's got that De Palma look, which kind of plays into that artificiality of the effects. Is all, you know, all the weird split angles and the profile and stuff. So it all kind of plays into it. Well, and I remember at the time hearing that the idea with the MI movies was to kind of have them be showcases for different directors, so that that's why John Woo was the second one, because the idea was, let's give each one its own kind of directorial flavor. But then, you know, after the third one, they've kind of been more of a direct continuity and it's kind of a similar look. But that was kind of the intent when those first two were done.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Brad Bird and Ghost Protocol, and I've really liked what Chris McQuarrie brought to Rogue Nation and Fallout, and I can't wait to see these movies. But it's amazing to me, Tom Cruise knows that what the audience expects from a Mission Impossible movie. Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise is never going to make a movie where Ethan Hunt is too old.
Right.
He's not going to, you know, I've left the IMF, man. I can't do it. He's never going to do that.
And he did it with Maverick, right? I mean, he had his trauma from his past that he was dealing with, but he was still kicking ass and doing the work that he's always loved to do, right? I mean, he was...
Yeah, like when he shows up and threads the needle
Right.
and those kids and shows he steals the plane or he borrows the plane, and he shows them, no, this can be done. He's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm still the best pilot here. I mean, that was a great moment, and that's what we want from our heroes. And it's like, you know, we live in a world where Clint Eastwood at like 93 is directing his last movie. Clint Eastwood's like, you know, I used to be cool, but now he never sat down and rested on his laurels.
Right.
Because he's Clint Eastwood. Do I feel lucky? Yes, I still feel lucky. That's why I'm making movies at 93. I mean, it's like, it's such a weird, this idea, and what I find strange, I mean, I think that we now live in this culture where, and you look at Star Trek, I mean, Star Trek, all Star Trek does, to come back to Star Trek, is deconstruct their characters at the like all of our venerable characters are being deconstructed. Like Spock has been made fun of or diminished in every episode of Strange New Worlds this year.
Totally.
And you don't have to diminish characters in order to, I mean, it's not like you're writing great female characters either. There's a lot of great female characters in the show, but they're not exactly written as people that you want to emulate. Everyone's like Ortegas, I fly the ship. If you want to emulate the way she acted in this 4th episode, go right ahead, but they're doing her no favors.
Yeah.
I mean, where's her military decorum? She has none.
Yeah.
But people like, oh, I fly the ship. And you're going to see it, Star Trek, the convention in Vegas. You're going to have a bunch of Ortegas, I fly the ship shirts. People are going to wear them like, hee hee. Fuck you. I hate that shit. Show's stupid.
Let's cleanse the palate with our good friend Stubble McShave here joining us. Welcome, Stubble.
Hi.
What's up, man?
Yeah, well, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Mission Impossible this week. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it seems good. I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you talked about shirts. I had to, you know, I made a little purchase.
Oh,
I had to get the
nice.
Observations.
That looks good. I need to get one of those. I've never owned a Robservation shirt. I need to wear more of my merch.
Yeah. Then I had to have an offer quote. So I went with Oscar Wilde.
Oh, that's a good one. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.
Yeah.
That's a good quote.
And let's see here. I had to have one of my favorite band.
Nice.
Yeah. And the last one.
Are you having this? Is it the sunshine of your love this summer?
Perhaps. Who knows? And then what movie?
I can't see. You got to hold that up. I don't know. What is that?
Broadsword Calling Danny Boy.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah. Where Eagles there.
Oh, right. I was just listening to that theme song on my playlist, my greatest film score playlist of all time, by the way.
Yeah.
If you have Spotify,
yeah,
it's 18 and a half hours long, by the way. I'm going to get it up to 24 hours. I mean, it doesn't have every Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. It's this eclectic mix of music from the 50s all the way up to the present.
Yeah.
And it has a theme from Where Eagles Dare.
Yeah, it has a it has a great brass section and great drums and percussion. Yeah. Anyway, I'm finished with this one. So now I started this one. So, you know, it's the, let's see here.
So is that another one of the, how big is that book?
Which one?
Oh, you got okay, that was 2. You're holding them up. I'm like, that book looks.
Yeah. There are 2 volumes. So book 2 and book 3 before the series comes in September. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So does it get hot? Does it get hot in Sweden in the summer? Like, what's hot for you?
Well, I prefer it if it's below 30 degrees. I don't know that's in Fahrenheit.
That's Celsius. So that's like around, is that 90?
Somewhere like that. I know the formula for calculating it, but I don't have it in ready. But if it's harder than 30, then you are used to it. But I prefer it a little cooler.
Yeah, no, it's been hot. It's going to be up to 100 here next week.
Yeah, I
That's
couldn't
fine.
stand that. No, not for me.
No.
I had no idea what I wanted to talk about, but a lot of other people have raised topics, and I've thought of chime in on some of those. And
chime
yeah,
away.
I thought of hitchhikers, and I think one problem is that I think they need an absurdist director to direct it.
Yeah,
someone like Terry Gilliam or someone like that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when everything is made so literal, it's not as much fun when you see it literally translated.
Yeah,
and
in your mind, when you don't see it, you can imagine it. You can imagine the absurdity in another way than depict it in images.
Yes. Yeah. So I always saw that Hitchhiker's Guide was a little metaphoric as well.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, and it just, when you saw, that was another thing when I watched the TV show and then I watched the movie, it was never, they made it all so realistic.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird. Like I would have liked to have been, I guess, more psychedelic, more pop art or something, more like Barbarella or Diabolic or something like that.
Yeah, it's a book of absurdist punchlines, more or less.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I think an absurdist director would that gets that kind of comedy would have done a better job.
Yeah.
Than what we got. But I enjoy it, but I don't love the movie. I love the book, but I don't love the movie.
The TV show too. I mean, I just kept was looking at it and I'm like, because it was all, they tried to make it all kind of serious. Like, well, here's the planet where they build planets, and okay, and it looks like a place that would actually work, as opposed to some crazy place where, I mean, if you're gonna build a planet and the Earth is really a computer, I mean, it's like you gotta show that to me.
Yeah, it's a like concepts that's hard to present in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, like the doors that would open and close and talk to you and go, glad to be of service. Like, what would that door look like? And they just made it look like a door, and you'd hear a voice like a computer voice going, glad to be of service, as opposed to like the doors being sentient life.
Yeah,
like I would do that. Like these doors were alive. So they were creatures. They were doors too, or do something like that. And it's hard to do. Like, I don't know if I could pull it off. I don't know if I was given that choice, if I'd even want to do that.
Yeah. I conducted an experiment since the last time we talked, and that was to ask my coworkers about the MCU.
Okay.
And they are normies. They don't follow this stuff at all.
Right.
And they used to be, they were up on the movies, they were up on everything. And I asked them if they were interested in Secret Invasion. And they had no idea what it was.
Right.
And I said, it's the new MCU thing. Oh, is that still on? Kind of,
Yeah.
So, what do I have to watch before I watch that? I couldn't answer them directly exactly what I had to see. But so they said, oh, I will watch other stuff now. So they have no interest at all. And I think it's a huge leap for them to get back on the train again.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think there's really no reason to. I mean, if you're expecting, like, you look at Secret Invasion, there's, first of all, other than Nick Fury, I mean, Secret Invasion is essentially a sequel to Captain Marvel, because that's the only other place we've seen Skrulls. And it's not really a sequel to Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel's not in it. And like, I like the idea of Secret Invasion, but when you're watching it, even people who are fans of the MCU, other than the fact that Nick Fury's in it, how is it connected to the MCU? Like, it's like a side story. If you're an anime fan. I don't know.
Good question. Maybe Bob Littlepage has something to say about that. Bob, you should be able to unmute now.
Oh, pardon me for breathing. What you don't do anyway, so I don't even know why I bothered asking it. Oh God, I'm so depressed.
That's Marvin.
Life. Don't talk to me about life.
But that's the radio show.
Yeah.
That's the radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, most of the BBC cast was also the radio cast, so they got
Yeah,
Well,
no.
most
Aside
everybody.
from a few, but yeah,
a couple, yeah, they different Ford, but otherwise, Mark Wynn Davies, everyone else, yeah. Anyway, I seem to have restarted the Civil War over on Twitter just by taking offense to somebody stomping on a Confederate flag while at Gettysburg.
Oh, really?
And suddenly ignited all this hatred for anything to do with it. They should have burned all your Southern people with pure, and they. Oh, really? Now, I just took offense to somebody showing kind of disrespect at a war memorial. So, fine, screw you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. There is no one of the things that's missing from our entire civilization these days is respect.
Yeah.
Anybody has respect for anyone, and it begins because certainly, I was taught. My parents were they were not strict, but they taught like when you interacted with adults, you showed all adults respect.
Yeah.
Like the idea that anybody would talk back to a teacher when I was growing up was like it would never occur.
Yeah.
You would never talk back to a teacher.
Yeah.
Just like my grandparents would never hear me swear ever.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've raised kids to believe that they're great.
I mean, I just, kid, I discussed it. You're lucky none of my family died at Gettysburg, or I'd have to hurt you. Just started the whole thing. Traitors like that. I never said I was proud of anybody in that thing. Okay, I just say lack of respect for the dead. What the hell's wrong with people?
Well, and people have such a not lack of knowledge about what actually happened. It's all like everything else. It's all been tribalized. This is good or bad. That's it. Nobody knows any nuance. Nobody knows anything about history at all. It's shocking how horribly educated Americans are now.
Yeah.
Horribly. They love to be activists.
Oh yeah,
but they don't know fuck all about what they're being activists for or against or whatever. So
anyway, I suppose it's a bit of a win though, Star Trek wise, because they finally backhandedly admitted it's an alternate timeline, so we can now safely ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, it's but the thing is, listening to Akiva Goldsman talk about this stuff, it's just more depressing. Like, how is it that you weaseled your way into running this franchise into the ground? It's amazing to me because Paramount just kind of takes this hands-off approach, and they literally, I think they're running that franchise into the ground because they're not creating a brand new audience. It is not creating a whole new generation of people that are going to fall in love with the show because the show isn't good.
No, they're cannibalizing right now.
Well, and people just look at her. That's why they like a character like Ortega, because like I fly the ship. Like they like things at the most basic, memeable level, and and that stuff doesn't last.
Yeah, I just watched Dave Cullen's review talking about why this thing, the total lack of military decorum. Take us under that'd be a very bad idea. I was like, even me with just coming out of just the Air Force as an E4, I gave you an order, Lieutenant.
Right. I mean,
either carried out or find me someone who will.
Well, nobody understands that because there is no real even when I was growing up, as I said, my parents, there was discipline in my house.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't talk a certain way. You had to say thank you and please. You don't throw things, you put stuff in the garbage. I mean, there was just we don't have that anymore.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And it carries over into what people like and the snark and the lack of seriousness. It's really maddening.
So I finally got set up to do these Hitler Reacts videos now.
Yeah. What are those?
They're well, it's the scene from the movie Downfall. It's a German film.
Where
Hitler goes off and the guy.
I love those React. The good ones are really good.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the one I did. It's a part of me and dispute behind another YouTuber right now, but technically you got to set it up where it's like, okay, it did one just straight. Transcribing the actual lines, the actual, put up the subtitles right in Premiere. So now it's just a matter of go in, edit the lines, everything's spaced out right.
Yeah, I mean the ones that are really good are. It's
Yeah.
funny. I haven't seen one in a long time.
Yeah.
But and the movie itself is really good.
Yeah. The one thing is you can't monetize them. They'll let you use it, but try and monetize. Nope, you're not.
Yeah, yeah.
One, they were blocking them all over the place for a while there, but
Yeah. Well, they got pissed. The people
Well-
that own the movie got pissed.
well, they also kept pointing. The only way people know about your movies because of these videos. Okay, lighten up. It's free advertising.
Yeah, but you got to protect your copyright.
Yeah,
You know?
it's fine. Yeah. But yeah. I also got another one in the hopper about Starship registries and how they work. Because I think there is a system that's evolved over the years, but
Yeah, but then again, it was ruined when they did the Constellation. They just reversed the decals because those are the only decals they had.
it kind of got a little deep and a little retroactively working at it. But if you take the fact that the proportions of the AMT model are not the same as the 11-footer, then
No.
you can rationalize that as this is an older class of Starship.
Yeah, you could, and also
the
the deck lines. I mean, I used to have to use an X-Acto knife and
it's a
cut
slightly
off
chunkier ship. But that,
Yeah.
it's not matched the 11, but it is screen accurate to the Constellation.
Yes, it is.
That's the thing you hang on. It it's not match up, but as far as that ship goes, yeah, that's perfect because that's exactly what they use.
Yeah, but you can't take that into consideration, really.
I do.
I mean, you can't. It's a production. That's a production issue.
I reject your reality and substitute my own. Okay. Oh, and also, as I point out on Twitter, it's like this whole thing about Kiva trying to rewrite canon. I'm just picturing Airborne or Trevane. Canon has not been changed. Canon has not been changed in untold thousands of years. You don't change the damn thing. You're either canon or you're not compliant with canon. You don't rewrite it. It's been set.
Well, what I find so frustrating about his reasoning, it's not like you can just move an event. There's 100 million things that happen to cause an event to occur in history. And when what he's done is by pushing, he hasn't just pushed it 30 years, he's basically pushed it 60 years because his young Khan would have to grow up. Who's to say that kid in Toronto would ever become Khan Noonien Singh, the despot that takes over a quarter of the world's population? Why would he? Growing up in that particular time, who's to say he would even? And it's silly for them to go, yes, we've pushed the canon 60 years. Why? Like that makes then your entire universe can't now you have to explain why there's a federation at all, because you can't just change history and say it's going to unfold the same way. It doesn't. You have to have history unfold to get to where you are. And now they've hate it. I just hate it.
I just gave up on trying to make it. It's its own contained bottle universe, and I'm not even gonna worry about it connecting with anything else.
Well, it's funny
That's
because
the only way to
by changing that, nothing should be the same.
It should be a completely different universe. Yeah.
A complete and there's none of those people exist because all the currents and eddies, they would never do the same things or go the same places. Certainly, Khan wouldn't have been discovered. There'd be no Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
At all. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
And it also shows a lack of thinking about all this.
Yeah.
They've not thought it through at all.
It even starts off with the problem that when she enters after the Gary 7 type character dies in front of her and she goes to the bridge and Kirk is there. The fact that there's no federation, but we still have the same ships and like none of that should have aligned in any way, shape, or form.
No, and it just shows how this is why I hate this show, because I'm watching a show where the people that are writing it are dumb. Because they're just dumb because they don't think about those things.
Through. Yeah. All right.
And they think, well, it happened in the previous shows.
Yeah, but in the previous shows, things change. You didn't just change someone's lapel pin.
Exactly.
Like when they did yesterday's Enterprise and the Enterprise C slides through that, the bridge of the Enterprise changed.
Right.
Like the stations changed, the uniforms changed, the lighting changed, things changed.
Yeah, and we know that it's not without. They would have had to rely on Vulcans to be able to build the kinds of ships that they have, But then Earth on its own figured out all this technology and has these same ships. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, and that's when you look at it, it's so not thought through.
Yeah.
It's just it's insulting and it's dumb.
Yeah. All right, Pedro Ferreira is here. Welcome, Pedro. Go ahead and join the chat now. Welcome.
What's up, dude?
Hi, how's it going?
I read your letters or your letter. I have much
Oh.
to say, but I won't say it here.
Probably best not to.
Yeah.
You can respond back to me.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Did you agree or disagree? Just probably disagree.
I have different thoughts.
Okay.
I have different thoughts. And as far as the video is concerned, I look at it this way. If people are making videos about you, that's pretty cool. You know, no matter what they are.
So are you planning on using the P. Ferreira blocker then?
No. No, I'm not.
To think someone actually edited, to see someone actually went about and edited all of that just because of me.
Well, have you ever looked at the Can't Be Exposed channel or Film Gob? I mean, when I was on Collider, there were people that made videos of us and they relentlessly made fun of us, which is fine.
Well,
At least they're watching.
This week I've been doxxed. I've had my identity doxxed online. I've had someone, leak my GOG wish list to find out what games I added to my wish list so they could make fun of that.
What is GOG?
It's a place where you can buy games online.
Oh.
It's a store where you can buy PC games. So they leaked all of that because I added porn games to the wish list, as though porn games are like the only thing I wish list. And then they did all the defamation videos where they took basically it took all the insults from Roast Me and put that as something that I was saying to someone else, like as though I normally talk like that to people in real life, in normal conversation.
Wait, I want to go back to the porn games. What games are these and how can I get them?
There's a whole list. Like literally, I just wish list games that come up every week that they include in their store, and it just and then it's So there's that, and there's a whole defamation video where they made me look bad by taking all these insults towards other people that I've said, but in fact all the insults come from Roast Me on Reddit.
Oh.
And a place where people actually ask to be insulted like the worst. So of course, out of context, it makes me sound like a horrible human being. So now, of course, because I have low self-confidence, I now feel that like, oh my gosh, am I really a bad person? Am I really on the wrong side?
Well, just start sending people Wham videos after you watch that documentary because it's great. When someone gets mad at you, just send them like Young Guns, Go For It, or the Wham rap, or
So if you ever see the I'd really advise though. I mean, forget about all the crap that they put out about me. If you ever see the podcast, the interview that was done with me, the full interview, it basically shows you what I'm actually like, my history. So if you ever get a chance,
I'll check that out. I think you sent me a link to it.
Yeah. So anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I saw the Indiana Jones movie.
What'd you think?
I'm just disappointed again, just what they're doing to these franchises, and one of the few good things that Crystal Skull did was that it ended the film with Indiana Jones married and he had a son and he was happy. And then in the new movie, they just got rid of all of that. They just totally got rid of all of that, and just basically they did the Force Awakens on him, and it was just
Well, you nailed it. I mean, the thing is, I don't know why they expect an audience to embrace that about like somebody said earlier. Maybe it was Roberto said about an escapist character. Why would you even think that you're going to take? I mean, they did it to everybody. They did it to Luke, Leia, and Han in the new Star Wars movies. They made them these morose, unhappy, bitter people. And it's such a weird direction to go in, because why do they have to be, you should never have to put someone else down to build another character up.
Yeah.
And these are all characters that saved the galaxy. And even the whole movie, The Force Awakens, even if they weren't, the fact that they allowed the First Order to rise and they allowed Starkiller Base to be built within striking distance of the Republic means all of our characters are fucking dumb. They're all idiots. The New Republic they built over 30 years are morons. And when you look at this, it's like, when you do that, first of all, they should know better. Good writers should know better.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a threat, go back. Look, your threat should be like the Phantom Menace. It should be coming from a darkness coming from within that people don't see, because they become complacent. And the reason that everybody talks about, everyone thinks like, I'm friends. I get yelled at by people like, why are you friends friends with people that are so toxic? They're not necessarily, the way they present their ideas, you might misconstrue them as being toxic.
Yeah.
But I think there's people like myself, that hate the fact that they are being talked down to in this way by having all of these things that they've loved and grew up with and spent lots of money supporting over the years. Yeah. They've turned these franchises into franchises that are inherently dumb. Like when Force Awakens, to me, I'm looking at Force Awakens, what a dunderheadedly stupid film that is.
The Force Awakens is a complete travesty. So I could go into a whole rant.
Like Last Jedi, I understand, but it's like, but I like Force Awakens. No, all the problems with the modern Star Wars franchise
Last Jedi gets lots of flack, and so does Rise of Skywalker. But the thing is, both of those two films are more of the same mess. It's the Force Awakens is the main culprit that should get more hate anyway.
I was just going to say,
sorry. The one thing about the Indiana Jones movie that kind of did piss me off quite a lot is that they set it up with him, his son's passed away, and he's by himself, and no one likes him and everything. Fine. But then they have the whole time travel element. And I think, well, if this is going to be the last Indiana Jones film, why don't they use the time travel to revisit all the previous movies, to bring them all together, and then undo his son passing away so that they could give him a proper happy ending? And the way they go about it, I won't say where they time travel to, I don't want to spoil that bit, but it makes sense if you kind of go back, it does kind of make sense, but it's very boring. It's a very boring time travel era that they go back to compared to what they could have done if they just had a bit more ambition.
Well, I'm with you. If you have the ability to travel, well, they made it so we can only go back to see Archimedes or whatever. But in what I found really interesting about this is, like you just said, how do you have a time travel movie, like even in Back to the Future, arguably one of the tightest time travel scripts ever written, when you get back to the present, Marty McFly's parents are cool. Like you get to make, they don't, the present is changed a little bit for the better. Like even though the adventure, Marty McFly has to protect his own existence, when he gets into the present, his dad's a famous science fiction writer. He's helped his parents become the people that he knew they could be. He learned who his parents could have been, that it was the road less traveled. And there was a little bit, Marty McFly helped his parents realize the people who they should have always been and that he would have wanted them to be. And it's an extra added oomph. So at the end of that movie, you're right. Why not bring back Shia LaBeouf and let him have a happy childhood? Why do you got to kill his son in Vietnam? Like, why do you got to do that? And if you do change that, I mean, it was so depressing. I don't know.
All right.
Wrong-headed.
Maybe Vixter has a different take. Maybe not as depressing of a take. So we'll see. Vixter, welcome. You should be able to unmute now and join us.
Well, I don't know. Indy 5, maybe my expectations have been lowered so much through the floor that I actually didn't mind it. It's not as good as the first three.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either.
But I thought it was fine. And I quite liked the end. And I really liked the very, very end. I thought that was nice. So and he seemed to be enjoying himself being in it. And
I think Harrison Ford, he
marketing
gave a
it,
great
and
performance, I thought.
So yeah, I thought it was fine, but I can see why people don't like it, perhaps. And I do think some things were. I found all the goons around Mads Mikkelsen really irritating. They could have taken all of them out. I just found them really quite annoying, especially when I've seen like Boyd Holbrook in Sandman, or was he in Sandman? He wasn't.
Yeah,
Sandman,
he was.
he?
He was the
Yeah.
Corinthian.
Yeah, and stuff where I know he can do really good acting, and then I was like, oh, so I didn't particularly love those elements, but other than that, and I think RM said it on one of your streams earlier in the week, which I totally agreed with, about how the students in the lecture theatre were bored. I was like, that's ridiculous, because they'd never be bored if they were at that level of education going to lectures by him. That was ridiculous. But I don't know. Overall, I thought it was quite fun. I had a good time for 2 hours, which is
Well, that's good.
For, really. So, and I've got Mission Impossible on Monday night at the big London IMAX. So that's going to be fun.
It looks so cool. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's like you actually. I think 2 and 3 are the ones 2, 3, and 6 are the ones I've watched the most. So this weekend I have rewatched 1 because I've not seen that for a while, and then I've watched 4, and I've got to watch 5. And I have a feeling 5's the one that I kind of loses me a bit somewhere in the middle. But I still really like the first one quite a lot. But then I do too. I can still remember going to see it with my mum in the cinema and being quite excited about it. So maybe that adds into it. I don't know. But yeah. And I might have to get those steelbooks now. That's all your fault.
Oh, they're pretty cool. And they made all 6 of them uniform. I wish they came in a box set, but whatever. That means I can get the I hope they make the Dead Reckoning. Although they probably won't, because everybody's stupid these days. But I hope they make the Dead Reckoning steelbook fit with these other 6.
You'd hope so, because that's one thing I did think. Oh, if I buy those now, and then that comes out and it's different, that will really annoy me.
Oh well, and they do that all the time. They forget it. It's nobody thinks. Same with. So I hope that the steelbooks, like when Paramount did a box set of the Indiana Jones movies, that they'll do the 5th. I'll buy Dial of Destiny. I hope it's the same format.
Yeah.
But they never do that. And it's so frustrating. It's like, why do you not do that?
One thing, and I was because I'm really, and I feel as though I'm in the minority of people watching it, but I'm really enjoying Secret Invasion. And I knew you read the script, so I was like, I wonder how much this has changed from what Rob read. So it sounds like it hasn't too much.
No, it has. Dialogues change, but the story's essentially the same. And I'm a little disappointed in it. The direction of it's very straightforward. Yeah, I wish it was a little more dynamically directed. It's been very flat in terms of its tone, and I kind of wish it wasn't, but it's still good.
I think that's fair. No, I think it's really good, and I love Ben Mendelsohn in almost everything.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so good. I think it was Bloodlines on Netflix I first found him in, and I love him. I think he's amazing. Great. But I have one problem now, because I was watching. I can't think what YouTube video it was on. I know it was Hector and some other people talking about Secret Invasion, and they made a point, and I was like, oh god, that's a really good point now that I can't stop thinking about why didn't Captain Marvel, after Endgame, having killed Thanos on a planet that was really nice and seemed empty, not then go back and go, oh, we could put all those scrolls on this nice planet I found. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point.
Who's to say that they're not going to do that? No, but it is a good point. And I think that's one of the things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now sloppy.
Yeah, it is.
It's too sloppy. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, no. And then what else? I'm on my latest X-Files rewatch. I know you're an X-Files fan.
What
Rob,
are you
so,
doing it season by season, or are you just watching it?
I've started from the beginning, even though I've seen the first 6 or 7 seasons, a ridiculous amount of time. But I'm going to try, and I'm not going to get to the end by this convention in September. It's just not going to happen. But I'm going to see how far I can get. So I'm currently enjoying revisiting the episodes that I could probably recite. I've seen them that many times. So
you're still in season 1.
I am mid-series 1 at the moment, but yeah, it's good stuff. I do love it.
It's weird. I mean, I think back to, I remember, is the episode Gender Bender?
Oh, I've just watched that one today.
Okay, you watched where the ship at the end, the ship leaves or whatever, and it was funny because that was the first episode of X-Files that I ever saw.
Oh,
because
God.
but I was like fascinated by it, going, wow, this is, because it was weird, like where it was going. I'm like, this is a little Baroque. And then seeing episodes like Ice and stuff like that, I really there's some really good episodes. Or the Tombs is Tombs first season.
Yeah, Tombs is the end of series 1. The Squeeze is episode 3, and then Tombs is 20.
Yeah, well, the last episode of season 1 is the Erlenmeyer Flask.
Yeah,
which again, where the mythology really kicks in, and that's that, because I caught up with it on reruns during the summer, and I was surprised. I mean, it was hit and miss, but I still loved it. I was like, this is amazing. But when the second season came about, after I was completely in. That's when I started watching. I didn't miss an episode.
Yeah, no, same. I think that was about me. I was I think we started getting it about a year after the US, maybe.
How crazy is it that the X-Files is 30 years old this year?
I know. I can't wait. I will be celebrating in Minnesota in September.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It makes me feel really old. It's mad.
It's funny to me because I think of the X-Files as a show that came on when I was an adult. And indeed it did. And it's just so weird to me that I would have been 26 when the X-Files was new. Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But
you're making me feel old, Rob.
Well, it's bizarre. The thing about that I've tried to explain to people is that because I've been interested in the same stuff since I was a little kid, time, I'm aware of the passage of time, but also I feel like I haven't gone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because time has been all the stuff I've been interested in since I was 5 years old. So, and I'm still talking about everything I was interested in when I was 5 years old. And I mean, there's a new Planet of the Apes movie coming out.
Right.
There's new episodes of Star Trek being made. And there's a new season. Russell Davies is coming back to Doctor Who. It's such a weird, crazy time that none of it's changed. And my mom says this to me. She's like, do you ever think you're going to be interested in anything else? And I'm like, Mom, no.
At this point,
I mean, if not to be morbid, but if I did, I mean, I always joke about this, but if I found out that I had terminal cancer tomorrow and I had 3 months to live, I'd be like, okay, I've had a great time, and I would sell everything, have a big garage sale, and make as much money as I could for Elizabeth, and then I would watch as many discs as I could to get through my collection before. I mean, it'd be like, it's such a weird way to but I'm still interested in all this stuff.
Hey, I forgot a super chat earlier from Science Lady saying 10 pounds. Again, thank you, Science Lady. She says, music is determined by algorithms now. Road DJs used to hunt new experimental music. I think this was in reference to your 80s commentary earlier, Rob.
No, it's true. I mean, the whole thing about algorithms and all that, if they're just going to get, and what's going to happen is if we get everything from algorithms, it's going to be what's most populous. See, Again, it comes down to the fact that the reason that somebody's going to use an algorithm to give us music is they want to pre-design something that we're all going to consume so somebody can get rich, easily get rich. And then I ask myself, is that adding to the quality of human life or not? And the whole idea about like music, there's a spontaneous like when freeform jazz, when you watch jazz musicians get together, maybe you have a jazz club and they invite someone up to play, a saxophonist, a keyboard player, or someone, and you don't know what they're going to do. Sometimes you are watching, when I would see Prince and he would just go into an improv medley or whatever, he would go sit at the piano by himself. This is something that makes life exciting. If all we're going to do is get predetermined music, predetermined stories, that's dystopian. There's your dystopian sci-fi right there.
Right.
And I get it, classical music, there's a lot of mathematics and science within classical music, but it came from human inspiration. And if we're going to get rid of human inspiration, eventually we're going to get rid of innovation. Because while an AI, it's going to happen. AI is going to start writing code. AI, you're going to have AI lawyers that can examine, although, that needs to be refined. And while, okay, that'll be great, but at the end of the day, I don't want to listen to algorithmically designed music. What's the point of that?
Yeah. And Science Lady also says, I love the movie The Boat That Rocked. And then says that she's been having microphone troubles, which is why she's contributing through Super Chat. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's the pirate DJ boat movie.
Pirate DJ boat movie. Yep.
I like that movie.
All right. And with that Super Chat, Rob, we are at the 2-hour mark for the show. So we're going to go ahead and end the stream to YouTube. But those of us in the chat, we will continue to be chatting here, and we will go until 2. You have a hard out at 2, so
we can't let anybody else raise their hand because I want to get to everyone.
Want to get to everybody now. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to our friends on YouTube. If you are a member, you'll continue here in the chat. We'll see you then. Rob, we'll connect with you next time. And I think you've got Midnight Music's happening tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So we'll see you later then. All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.
I might put a